The NFL season is just about to start, and in today's video, I give my official Week 1 power rankings. Yes, I know you've been waiting all off-season for this, but I will give you not only who I think is the best team in the league, but also who I think is the 7th best team in the NFL. So, starting off at number 10, I have the Houston Texans. I know a lot of people are huge fans of them. Some people have them as high as the 4th best team in the NFL I've seen out there. Houston does have a ton of potential on both sides of the ball with CJ Stroud, their dynamic wide receivers, an improved running back. I think Joe Mixon's better than what they had last year. Not saying he's elite, but better. And then on the defensive side of the ball, their coach is an excellent top-tier defensive head coach. You combine the two, and it could just be magical. The only reason I don't have them higher yet is it's not proven enough for me. They kind of lit it up the end of last year, and I do really like the team. I think the team has a ton of potential, and I think next year they'll be a top 3 or top 4 team in the NFL, but they're just not there yet, in my opinion. But they have plenty of time with CJ Stroud just in his 2nd year, which is crazy. At number 9 is a pretty similar team, and that is the Green Bay Packers. I've seen people have them ranked as high as the 2nd best team in the NFL, and that is just a bit premature for my opinions. But Jordan Love, he got paid, he looked elite, especially the second half of last season and in the playoffs. His wide receiver room is top tier with just endless talent. Their 5th wide receiver is as good as some teams' 2nd wide receiver. They have Josh Jacobs. They have a decent offensive line and a decent defense. And I think their head coach is a pretty good offensive head coach. Put this together, you have a very solid team that could shock the world. I know I've seen some people pick them as their Super Bowl teams, and while I'm not willing to go that far, I do think they have a ton of potential. I put them at number 9. At number 8, here is the New York Jets. Not the New York Giants, but the New York Jets. So this entirely depends on none other than Aaron Rodgers. So we all know the New York Jets defense is going to be a top 3 defense in the NFL. We know that. Their corners are awesome, their linebackers are awesome, their defensive line is awesome. They have a defensive head coach. Their defense is going to be great. What we don't know is what's going to happen with their offense. So we saw last year what happens if they're all defense, no offense. And it's not too pretty. They win some games, but not enough. They're not the 8th best team in the NFL last year. With Aaron Rodgers, everything could change. If he is good, and if Breece Hall is good, and if Garrett Wilson is good, and if Mike Williams comes back healthy, this could be the best team in the NFL. We don't know that much really going into Week 1. So any of these teams on my top 10 listing, I wouldn't be surprised if they won the Super Bowl. I know that's a little broad, but there's so many good teams in the NFL. And you'll see there's some really good teams that didn't even make the top 10, but there's probably 15 or 16 really good looking teams in the NFL, and we just have to wait and see how it actually happens. But if we get Aaron Rodgers from 2 or 3 years ago, this Jets team is going to be amazing. The question is Aaron Rodgers as good as he used to be? He might not be because he's old, and he is coming back from a major injury. And how bad is their offensive line? Is their offensive line actually any better? They tried to make it a little better, but it's very unproven at this point and could be the biggest weakness on the team. If Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again, well, then they're sunk. And then finally on the Jets, there's the disaster of the Hassan Reddick trade. I can't talk about the Jets and not talk about Hassan Reddick. So they traded from the Eagles about 6 months ago. They traded for Hassan Reddick. The Eagles, of course, only traded him because they knew he wanted a contract and that he would hold out, and the Eagles didn't want to pay it to him. the Eagles only got essentially a 3rd round pick from the Jets. So at first I thought the Jets had won this trade, but they haven't paid him yet. And he's just holding out and appears to be willing to miss games. Now, things could change, of course, after I record this, but it looks like he's going to skip multiple games of the season, and this is just a disaster to trade for someone and then not pay them. Just embarrassing. If their defense wasn't so excellent as it is, I would put this as a big knock against them. But when he does come back, if he comes back, their defense could be the best in the NFL. Up next at number 7 is the Cincinati Bengals. So, some people don't like them. Some people don't believe in them at all. But I personally think that Joe Burrow, at his peak, is the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL. Right behind Patrick Mahomes. He's the only one who's really gone up against Patrick Mahomes and beaten him, other than Tom Brady. I believe in Joe Burrow a lot and think he could be excellent if things work out. T. Higgins seems to be healthy. The running back room, unknown. Zach Moss, okay. The rookie, maybe. Offensive line, solid. But that leaves the biggest question for the Bengals at this point, and that is Ja'Marr Chase going to play? Because 2 weeks ago, I would have said, yes, definitely. He's not hurt or anything. He has 2 more years on his contract, but he's holding out. And it looks like there's actually a decent chance he misses a game or 2. I think he'll probably sign a contract, maybe even by the time this video goes out. But as of now, he's holding out, and the coach said he's day-to-day. I've never heard of a player be day-to-day when they're not injured. Like, who's day-to-day with a contract dispute? I've just never even heard of that. But assuming that everybody plays, their offense could be excellent. T. Higgins could just get all the first downs, and then Ja'Marr Chase can get all the long bomb touchdowns, put it together, and they could be amazing, you know, chief beaters like they used to be. Then on the defensive side of the ball, I think they're a little underrated. I've seen a lot of people say they don't have a good defense, but in my opinion, it's about a top 10-ish defense, about the 10th best defense in the NFL. A good, solid defense that won't hold you back at all. At number 6 is a team that everybody is down on, and I don't actually know why. But first, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more NFL content, but back to the video. So at number 6, I have the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody is so down on them. Everybody hates them so much this year, thinks they're going to fall apart. But their team is very similar to what it was last year. They've signed CeeDee Lamb to his contract, so he'll be fine. Dak Prescott will play without his contract. You know, he's used to it at this point. Micah Parsons will play without his contract. He's fine with it. That's a problem for future Cowboys. Today, Cowboys, who cares? The team is roughly the same as it was last year. I know they didn't make additions, and that is just silly. But last year, they were a really good team. They flamed out in the playoffs, classic Cowboys style. But looking at the regular season, they won the NFC East, and they played well. They beat a bunch of teams, a bunch of good teams even. And I don't see why people don't see them as a top 10 team and everyone's given up on them. The biggest weakness on offense is, of course, the running back room, which is just a joke with Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, even though he might be hurt, Dalvin Cook, and then Ezekiel Elliott. That is the worst running back room in the NFL, but luckily that position doesn't matter that much. It matters some, but as far as weaknesses go, that's okay. Ezekiel Elliott can get you your 3 yards and occasional touchdown. So, I don't know why everyone hates on them so much, but I actually think they're a very solid team, and I put them at number 6. At number 5, I have another AFC North team, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is the ultimate regular season quarterback. He's just so good, especially against NFC teams. When you haven't played him very often, he destroys you. Now, divisional games, not as good. Seems like you can kind of get used to playing against him a little bit maybe. But they were excellent last year. They were probably, at times, the best team in the NFL last year. And it just didn't work out because they went against the Chiefs. And when anyone goes against the Chiefs, they lose. So that happened. Still have Mark Andrews. You have Derrick Henry, so who knows what this running back room can be, or this running game can be, with a mixture of a horse and Lamar Jackson. Could be an elite running game with some nice long bombs that Lamar's really good at throwing, and then the mid-range to Mark Andrews. The question I have about this team is actually the defense, though, because they lost their defensive coordinator to the Seattle Seahawks. Losing a defensive coordinator can hurt a team a lot. They also lost a linebacker to the Steelers. Those are two key pieces to the team and could really hurt the defense. But it seems like they always have a good defense, and they still have a bunch of good defensive players. So I think it will be a very, very good team once again. Just like it seems Lamar Jackson's Ravens always are. So I have them at number 5. At number 4, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think this is a pretty fair spot to put them. Full disclosure, I am an Eagles fan, but still, I think it's a fair spot. They have Jalen Hurts, a top 10 quarterback, Saquon Barkley, a top 5 running back, Dallas Goedert, arguably a top 5 tight end. And they have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Jahan Dotson, the best wide receiver trio in the NFL, a top 5 offensive line, and Kellen Moore. So that's the offense. Really good. I believe in it a lot. There has been some change, especially with the coordinators, but I believe in it a lot. On the defensive side of the ball, there has been a lot more change. It is a little more shaky. The defensive coordinator appears to be better with Vic Fangio, a tried and true guy just coming in to solidify. But the defensive line is almost unarguably weaker than it was the past few years. Losing Fletcher Cox, losing Hassan Reddick, that's a big toll. And I know the rookies and the young guys could make up for it, but that's asking for a lot. Linebackers, once again, not good, but that's just the Howie Roseman style. And then the defensive backfield actually is the deepest it's been in decades. So that could be good. I think overall, there's no reason they can't be the best team in the NFL. Their offense is the most talented offense in the NFL. So if you had the number 1 offense in the NFL and the number 10 defense in the NFL, you could easily be the number 1 team in the NFL. I don't really see a reason why they aren't competing for the 1 seed and then competing for the Super Bowl. I know my expectations aren't so high, but honestly, they're so high that I'm most likely going to be disappointed in the year. But I can't change that. I just believe in the team. I think they've done a lot of good, and they have a ton of potential. So I just can't change that at this point. Number 3 might be a little surprising. Of course, a lot of these might be surprising because it's preseason power rankings. So anyways, after this week, we'll have some more knowledge to go after. But it is the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy, of course, appears to be a solid NFL quarterback. They're known for having the most talented roster in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey is coming back from injury. Slightly concerning, but oh well. Trent Williams appears to be back from his holdout. Huge relief for the team. Ayuk didn't get traded. Huge upside for the team this year. Debo, of course, is here. Huge upside. Their offense should be amazing. A really good offensive line, good tight end, good running back, good quarterback, good wide receivers. And good fullback too. So in case you didn't know, that's the whole offense. And good offensive coordinator. Good play calls. The defense is also elite. This is one of the only teams in the NFL where they could have the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in the league. So I don't like the 49ers. but I can't get away with saying they're not a top 3 team in the NFL, at least going into the season. I think there's a chance they fall apart after losing the Super Bowl. It happened to the Eagles, and they had a really talented roster. I could easily see it happening, but it just would not be reasonable for me to put them lower than 3rd in the league. Then number 2, I have the Detroit Lions. Might be shocking for a Detroit fan, or they might be used to it at this point. But they should have went to the Super Bowl last year. They should have been there, and they just kind of fell apart for one half and lost to the 49ers, and it was really unfortunate, but they've returned everybody. I thought they were going to lose both of their coordinators, and they kept both. So that was a big, especially their offensive coordinator. That's a huge surprise. I didn't think that was going to happen at all. So that's a really big deal. That's part of what killed the Eagles last year, was losing those coaches. So they had their coaching in place set. All their major players are still there. They're just running it back with another year of experience. No major injuries so far. They could be really good. Jared Goff is playing as good as he ever has, and he only plays in domes this year, except for I think 2 or 3 games. So about 13 or 14 games in a dome. Great for him. The running game is the best in the NFL, or arguably, tied with the Ravens. Of course, Goff isn't going to run the ball, but best running back room in the NFL. Let's go with that. Offensive line could be the best in the NFL. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they have Laporta. Now they're wide receiver 2 and 3, not as good. But this offense, as we saw last year, could be great. And then they have what we all love, the coaches who are willing to go for it on 4th down. So that always helps too. In their defense, they have a good defensive line, and that's kind of the center of their defense, with Aiden Hutchinson and a few others kind of coming up through the ranks. If they can become an elite defensive line, there's nothing that can hold this team back other than injury. And that leaves one more team, and you probably could have guessed this, but that is the Kansas City Chiefs. I cannot pick a team other than the Kansas City Chiefs to be the best team in the NFL. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls. They had the best player in the NFL. They had the best coach in the NFL. They have the best tight end in the NFL. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have the best defensive tackle in the NFL. Arguably the best defensive player in the NFL. Same guy. But anyways, it's just not fair. They're too good. Their offense wasn't that good during the regular season last year, but when it mattered, they could score points when they cared. So Mahomes, I just can't bet against him. I think he's just the greatest in the league. So you had the best offensive player in the league, you had the best defensive player in the league, you had the best coach in the league. You're the best team in the league. So it just kind of snuck up on us, but all of a sudden they went from a flashy offense to a complete team that has, it seems like, no weaknesses. They have a good running back. Their wide receiver room, okay, is not great, but with Mahomes, is fine. Good corners, good linebackers, good defensive line, good kicker, I think good punter. So I can't really say anything bad about the Chiefs. They're quite simply my best team in the NFL. So you might be mad after hearing these rankings. You can let me know in the comment section down below. But I did leave some good teams, such as the Bills, or the Dolphins, or the Rams, or I guess the Steelers. I did leave all of them off of my rankings. So that is too bad. But I can't include everybody in my top 10. And one of my responsibilities as one of the major influences on the NFL community is to make the tough choices. So anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.